Hello, my name is Herman Duarte, and I'm talking here as a Central American lawyer and not as in my capacity as Latin American liaison officer of the Human Rights Law Committee. Please, if you're from Honduras or Guatemala, Panama, reach out to me. It was very hard to find a lawyer that was available for this topic, and it still is very important to discuss those great countries that are in our heart and mind. Without a doubt, we're living in a moment of great erosion of human life, human rights, and the rule of law. Millions are suffering and thousands, over 500,000, have lost their lives due to the pandemic. I pay my respects to them and hope that their families find peace in their heart. This is indeed a very cruel virus that does not allow us to say goodbye to our loved ones. It's the irony of social media, so close and far at the same time. Sometimes the video conference is just not enough. For instance, this video is a recording because I got cut off from the conference due to internet connection. I am very sorry for all who are suffering. Cry if you have to. Let the emotions go and let the empathy and pain from others inspire you to act. Remember that your body will scream whatever you're not saying. Let it speak up. Honorable Dr. Kirby kept referring in the interview I had with him a great American woman named Eleanor Roosevelt. She was in charge of drafting the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. All human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. That has been the human rights mantra that has inspired millions of human rights defenders in decades. And that's where rests the conception of the rule of law. Equality under the law, freedom, restrictions of what governments can actually do, non-concentration of power in one individual, and as the president of the International Bar Association, Horacio Bernardes, states, let's protect the rule of law as the rule of law protects us. We are in a critical stage. The parallelisms to AIDS epidemic, or plague, as Larry Kramer would refer it, are really outstanding, outrageous. It took 10 years for 100,000 people to die for AIDS. And in less than 7 months, it has been 540,000 dead for COVID. This is a dangerous virus. We don't know what is coming in the future. And we are incredibly insignificant towards this virus. We're powerless. But our hope is to stick to science and to the respect of the rule of law. We might be powerless, but that's our safety net. Science and the rule of law. Science is the key for human progress and salvation, not politics. But what do I mean for science? Technical advice, expert in statistics, doctor, epidemiologists, and other specialists should be in front row taking the decisions, not those with interests focusing exclusively on political aspirations. Costa Rica corona policies has been based on science, but we cannot say exclusively the same of other countries. The contrast exposed by Maria Jose Iglesias, Ms. Bianca Jagger, Baroness Elena Kennedy, Leonor Selva, and Cindy Regidor is the example of that. But even in countries where science becomes present, just like Olof Palme, Prime Minister of Sweden, explained of prejudice, takes its part. He said, we like to see ourselves as open-minded and tolerant, but it's not that simple. Prejudice needs not to be rooted in some kind of complicated theory. Its origins are more basic. Prejudice is rooted in daily life, and above all, it is an expression of ignorance and fear. Ignorance about what makes other people unique. Fear of losing a position, a social privilege, a prior right. We are bombarded with information. Some in a gross, irresponsible manner deny the existence of the virus, juggling with the lives of millions that blindly believe in the words of authorities. Think of Nicaragua, Brazil, or the United States of America. We are swimming in a sea of irrelevance, as Aldous Huxley warned us, and that represents a threat to liberty and democracy. But in this propagandistic way of spreading information, there is also the undeniable fact that many live in fear of expressing themselves. However, Even in this atmosphere of fear, we have seen how human creativity finds its way to express the discontent towards governance. From a Twitter interventions by feminist groups stating that they do have other numbers to contrast the lies behind official versions of zero feminicide, to manifestation using the honk of cars as abusive governmental restrictions to not allow citizens to go out of their houses. Phrases from legendary civil rights icon has coming back to life. The riot is the language of the unheard, stated Martin Luther King many years ago. And it seems that the phrase keeps getting traction. Confusion and complexity has been our daily life nowadays. That fear comes from the abuse of power. In El Salvador, for instance, thousands have been detained, and the executive power, led by Honorable President Nayib Bukele, has put the rule of law and democracy under siege. Constant derogatory attacks to the Congress and the judiciary and the political opponents. That is not the right way to build a democracy. We urge President Bukele to fulfill his important role by being an instrument of peace and dialogue. Do not get us wrong. We applaud the restrictions and the millions of lives saved, but we do not celebrate the erosion to the rule of law, neither the disrespect to the inherent limits of such measures. As Dr. Kirby explained, proportionality has to be respected at all times. Just yesterday, Michelle Bachelet, the High Commissioner for Human Rights, for a second time in less than 3 months, mentioned El Salvador in her human rights violations report. Mr. Bukele, I urge you to please get back in the same energy and track of your presidency as you had before February 9th. An admired leader, getting support from all over the world. That is the president the country needs. Nicaragua is also in the headlines, as explained by Bianca Jagger and Cindy Regidor. It is a country where the rule of law has ceased to exist and where a couple of dictators, husband and wife, with turbulent past and present, work in doing whatever they want. How is this possible that they are still in power? How is it possible that China and Russia ignore the direct and explicit calls done by civil society leaders at the Security Council meetings? How is it possible that the international community is not louder in the extreme conditions that Nicaraguan, and for that matter Venezuelans, are living? I highly appreciate diplomacy for diplomatic situations, but international organizations have to adapt to current times in order to act harder, better, faster, and stronger. That is the only way to get back the credibility that has been taken away by populist leaders. Act up fast. And again, even though there are dark skies, thanks to the mere existence of courts such as the ICC, as eloquently explained by Dr. Alessandra and Ms. Jimenez Mora, the governments have a natural barrier to their excesses. But as explained by Doctoressa de Alessandra, the bar is high to reach, but the responsibilities by the governments can be judged in other jurisdictions, aside of the mediatic valuations. What can we do? We must remember that as current and future lawyers, we have the power to change the world. We can direct the actions of governments to fulfill the promises laid down in Constitution and international treaties. We must find allies with similar values and act together as blocs, remembering the importance of respecting and promoting science and the rule of law. Put your talents to the service of humankind. Don't focus on money. Focus on what you're passionate. Money will find its way. As now more than ever, as Larry Kramer would say, the gay rights and HIV activist that through his disruptive activism tactics saved millions of lives, we must act up, fight back, fight COVID.